Critical Tumble, where a bunch of longtime friends and internet nerds transcend geography through the power of Discord to play Dungeons and Dragons and reshuffle the party on a disturbingly regular basis. As you can see, we've had less a swap of numbers than a swap of rogues, really. Harry, as those of you who are watching, there are people that actually watch this damn thing, have probably noticed has had a lot of issues with attendance, and they finally got the better of him, so he's not going to be attending in the future. So that's gonna have to be me finding a suitable exit for Rizwin. But much more cheerful news, we have the return of our favorite tiefling rogue and a bit now. Clara T. Millereth, as played by Lindira.
Hi.
There's only one introduction I really need to make. Lindira, meet Marion. She plays Ava. You met her very, very briefly, but
Yeah.
you'll get to know her a hell of a lot more as we go. Really, she's come out of her shell quite a bit since they got out of Equitas, which has been great, by the way.
Good.
Previously, after a truly disastrous trip to the Elven Wild and the Shadowfell, and then back to the Elven Wild, and a whole bunch of other associated bullshit that, in their usual modus operandi, they did not check on even a tiny, tiny bit. They came back. The Cupcake Coterie came back to Hearthhome to discover that the promised mercenaries that turned up had actually turned up, and were sort of currently occupying the fallow fields of Hearthhome. They had, in the course of their trip to the Elven Wild, basically turned around to the Wood Elf encampment there and said, give us a week and then call out the ancient green dragon that's causing you problems over here and ship it to Hearthhome, with no consideration whatsoever for the dozen children and the townspeople as a whole, not to mention the Baron who had almost died to the adult. Anyway, when that was as gently but firmly as possible pointed out to them by Twilly and Miranda, they came up with a couple of better ideas through their heavily resurrected common sense and through a conversation with the elements. So now the plan is to send a message out to the Wood Elf encampment before they can deliver that murderous little message, and basically flag up that they're going to go to Star Coast, which is conveniently empty of collateral damage, and try to rekindle the heart of Star Coast somehow. Furseth's still working on that. He was smart enough to actually start working on that beforehand. Bravo! I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not. I'm genuinely thrilled. I mean, there's multiple ways you could have approached that situation, and just trying to figure it out in advance is just, I've come not to expect it from you all.
Thess loves people who plan.
Thess loves people who don't plan too. It's just
from Froseth's point of view, most of the time he goes along with other people's plans and figures they have that stuff thought of.
Is he yet starting to? I mean,
he's starting to realize this.
Yeah, so there you go. Okay, so yeah, they went into town in installments. You had Rizwin getting fitted for armor, which I have thoughts about that. And you know, that left Remy, Alice, and Furseth. Sorry, Furseth was communing with the elements. It was Rizwin, Alice and Remy talking to the quartermaster while everybody else went into town to have a conversation with the various clerics who reminded them that the kids of Hearthhome were not the only people who might be in danger if an ancient green dragon decided to blow through. Got a bit yelled at by Estan, got a beginner's guide to care and feeding of your Azamar from Estan, and waited it out because they were all going to meet back up at the shrine to hit the blacksmith, talk to Jenna, wander around and generally make sure everything in town was as okay as it could be, discounting the golden bough, which has been burned to the ground. On their way into town, Furseth, Remy, and Alice, predominantly Alice, because the dragons really don't like her. There are a lot of reasons that the dragons really don't like her. Mostly because killing blow on practically all of them. This is not my fault. This is I generated a character that is just murder on legs. I didn't
Welcome
mean
to barbarians.
I didn't mean to, and then I tried to remove her, but then they brought her back.
Welcome to barbarians, and welcome to Thess characters. We get attached!
Apparently. Anyway, so yeah, what they got attacked by, which it took them a while to figure out, but they did due to some very good rolls and some fantastic thought on Remy's part, Noms's part specifically, but you know what I mean, was an abishai, sort of a dragon devil hybrid thing, who were apparently devils from Avernus that have, formerly living souls that wound up in Avernus that were good enough for Tiamat to gift with various bits and pieces, and that's how you get a challenge rating 6 beastie that was significantly kicking some people's asses until these guys finally came out of the shrine. The darkness bubble that literally followed it around as it liked was dispelled by Remy's use of daylight, and it tried to run away after all that plus being disarmed. No, we didn't let that happen, and now there's one more reason for the dragons to really not like their little celestial friend. So anyway, they're currently at the shrine, minus Rizwin for the moment, having some conversations with people, getting patched up in some cases, and having lunch. Clarity.
Yes.
Meanwhile, way over in Belarus, for the last few days, you've been studying lots of different things. You're starting to get a feel for a foundation, but a lot of the books that you're going to need are in deep sections of the library, which tend to be a little bit hard to find until you've reached a certain... Basically, it's almost like levels in games. It's kind of, okay, I have to learn this to be able to get to this part of the library because it's one of those, you must have this much, you must have this much base knowledge to access the rest of this, otherwise you may destroy the fabric of the universe and nobody wants that.
That would be bad.
and incidentally picking up some other bits and pieces, talking with some people from the university, and I think you froze. Hello. Yeah. Nope.
Yep, that's a locked up screen.
Yeah, I was wondering if there was sound as well, because I noticed the lockup straight away, but I mostly stopped talking because I was hoping sound might still be a thing, but apparently no.
At least it's a good picture.
While we're waiting for things to settle on Lindira's end, very quickly for Darwin, after the whole debacle with the Abishai and the conversation with Lyra, and probably a little bit of communing with Bahamut before lunch actually gets served, there is a moment in the little, very temporary, given Darwin, pool of stillness in which he has managed to surround himself, and that, that that voice that he's starting to get to know fairly well now goes, "Have you made a choice?" Ah, there you go. Give me a second.
Just kind of blinking a little bit. Wasn't expecting that right then. Yes.
And
Hazeltine was so full of shit his ears should have been brown. I was never meant to be a lore bard, a lore college of lore bard. I am I'm a valor bard.
as you think that to yourself, something inside you twists. Not uncomfortably. It's the feel of once a while ago, Hazel kind of did the poop your back into place. And it's like that, but from the soul.
So you kind of see the expression on Dervin's face kind of go like not pained, confused, like a combination of confused and pained, but without the pain, if that makes sense. Sort of a, and then he kind of relaxes like more into himself than he has in a while. And it's just sort of like, huh.
If I see this, can I insight check?
You can, in fact, insight check.
Yeah, I'm not hiding this at all.
Yeah, we'll get back to you in a minute, but it's down to what she notices and how deep into it she reads.
Right.
Hence the
19.
Well, that was definitely his God talking to him, and it was definitely fixing something that was. I mean, you know the look of you popping somebody's back, like that, but deeper. So something got fixed.
Dang. I'm just going to keep watching him.
Do I need to roll a perception check to see the glare from across the table?
Well, first of all, it's not a glare. It's a gaze. It's a study.
Okay, fair enough.
And are you hiding it? Because that's a pretty easy to read facial expression if you're not hiding.
And I'm not hiding. I'm just eyeballing him.
Oh, you noticed that?
Kinda
Yeah.
hard not to.
So, you know how this whole time, like, the only thing in my life I've ever really chosen was to be a bard, but even, like, the bard I was, I kind of let other people pick that, and I kind of finally decided that what I wasn't me anymore, and apparently Bahamut agrees enough that I'm not a lore bard anymore, I think. I said I was a valor bard, and apparently I'm a valor bard now.
Well, you do feel a certain amount of physical strength and resilience that wasn't there before. The shield, you can feel looking at it how it would feel more natural on you, and you know damn well that there's a couple of things you just can't do anymore.
Mm-hmm. So, like, and I kind of gesture with the arm with the shield, and I'm like, this feels better, except I can't remember now.
Well, no, you can remember how. It's just
it's not remembering. There's a couple of the things I used to be able to do just don't connect anymore, so I can't do them anymore. But everything else, aside from that, everything feels right now.
Main thing, then.
Yeah. Wow. I did. Okay. So yeah, that was the thing. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's about time. I got on Aaron way back when about not choosing something, so it's only about time I freaking do. I mean, I'm no good at finding the story and everything that we're doing, but what I am good at doing is making the story be what it should be. So hopefully that's the way this is going to go.
Okay.
Anyway,
This is going to be fun.
so lunch.
Yes, lunch is served while we're doing that. Sorry, we moved to that quickly so that we weren't standing around like lumps while we were waiting for you to come back. So yeah, you've had conversations with the with various students, and you've picked up a few new tricks. Obviously, some of your ability to take damage has, okay, not reduced, but not increased the way that it had done while you were rampaging around actually doing stuff, because you're in moderately safe library. Moderately. But over the past couple of days, when you haven't been in the library, one of the things that you've noticed is that a few of the mercenary groups that had only just come back in a couple of cases were on the move again, and they didn't seem to be gearing up for another Southern Lands campaign. It's been a bit weird. They've been prepping for colder weather. And as far as you've been able to research, it never gets cold in the Southern Lands, ever. So that's a bit of a thing, right up until, but it's just a bit of local gossip. Right up until you come home one dinner time and, well, lunchtime-ish, and you just get sort of, Andromeda sort of sit down and say, Clarity, have a seat. We need to have a conversation.
Oh, did I do something wrong?
No. It's not you that's in any kind of trouble here.
Oh, good.
Sort of.
Who is then?
Basically all of Goldendale. Look, I just received a sending from Mom.
Oh.
And she doesn't usually do that. She wouldn't unless it was an emergency, and the messages I received, well, I can see why. You remember that Seneschal individual?
Yes, the asshole.
It turned out he was an adult green dragon.
Oh.
Which your friends summarily murdered, by the way.
Oh.
But
good for them.
Then they went to the Elven Wild, which was being terrorized by an ancient green that they didn't run into right at that point, but they kind of called it out.
Why? Why would they do something like that? That's stupid.
As Mom told me, that would be your friend Darvin saying, we're killing the green, we're killing the white, we're killing the black, we're killing them all.
That'll do it, yeah.
So they're Mom and Mama and the kids are evacuating to a farm that none of the anybody in the Elven Wild actually know anything really about, or at least don't know that they're affiliated with. So that should be okay. And there's a suggestion that they might be heading someplace else, but it's still all of them against many, many ancient dragons, and potentially worse. So, Mom thought you deserved to know, because I know that your research hasn't gone anywhere near as quickly as you wanted it to. And there's other places you probably need to go to get some of the rest of the materials you need. But at this point, I think that Mom is basically telling me, at least partially, so that you know, so that if something horrible happens, you know why, and it's not a complete shock. And partially, I think she hoped that maybe you'd be able to set it aside for a little while enough to help.
Of course I'm going to help. where they're in Goldendale now.
They are. I can. I've got some of the people who are teaching me how to do druid, can actually transport between trees.
Oh, that's fascinating. Oh,
It's a
you'll have to tell me how that works.
I
At
wish
some point.
I wish I could, but as far as I've ever been able to tell, it's just you talk to the tree. We are not as arcanely mathematically inclined as you are. It's
Oh,
basically us turning around to nature and saying, please help or fuck off and die, depending.
oh, well, if you're going to be nice about it.
Well, if you wanted to help you, you ask politely. If you wanted to die, why are you being polite at it?
Very true.
Any case, I'll have to find another helpmeet, and I will miss you terribly. But
Yeah.
given some of the things you've been learning, I think I'll feel a bit better uh, for everyone if you're there. I don't think I can. I don't think we can do that with any of the specific trees around Hearthhome, but there's that big tree in the center of town. You know the way.
Yes, I've seen it.
I'd recommend getting a few bits of winter wear. That's the other thing I found out. You know, all those people have been gearing up for winter expeditions.
Right, yes.
They've come to Goldendale to try to boot the Crownsguard out of it because apparently ancient black dragon who's apparently ruling Baronsvere is uh, tried to establish martial law, and now they have Belrace mercenaries kicking them out. So that feels a little
Wow.
better.
Wow, you lock yourself in a library for 2 months and
It
the whole world's changed.
something very much like that. It'll be interesting to see what the political and economic landscape starts to look like after all of this. But
Right.
if you want to get yourself established for a trip,
Okay.
we'll arrange transport for you as soon as we can.
All right. Yeah.
We'll say that that's the day before, like today. So you've got a
Mhm.
day to pack, prepare. We'll say you've got some winter clothes. You've picked up various bits of your earnings. You got about 40 gold for the work that you did helping maintain the garden, and of course you have much time necessary to say goodbye to the cats and that kind of thing. And
I pet each of them
yeah,
individually.
they look a little bit like it's like they know you're leaving and they're not overly happy about it, but they do consent to the petting. And there is one reasonably sized tree in the in the rooftop garden. How they manage that, you have no idea, but wizards, man, wizards. Um, and the druid that's been helping Andri learn rather large, really fluffy firbolg. You've met a few of those, not many because they're not overly city dwelling individuals, but there's been a few. You've met some interesting races. There's in fact an entire shop that's run entirely by fairly narky goblins. So that's always fun. Just for if you want to learn swearing in about 6 different languages, that's kind of where you go. But yeah, the Firbolg opens up the door and ushers you through it because you've only got the 6 seconds. You come out in snowy Goldendale center of town, and the first thing that catches your eye on the ground pretty much at your feet at this point. Small collection of about a half dozen tiny tombstones, each with metal, each with a semi-precious stone, mostly reds, oranges, yellows, with names that, given your intelligence, you vaguely recall as names of a few of the younger fairy dragons that used to live in the shrine. A little further on, you find that the snow is liberally splattered with blood. And sort of over there, someplace, there's a pile of black mulch. The blood trail kind of leads into the shrine, so
Okay. Um,
knowing them, if they're into, they might, they, but who else would be leaving blood all over the place?
I look around. Do I see anybody?
No, the town the town beyond that appears completely empty. You do also see the blackened remnants of the Golden Bough. And it's literally a few leaning, blackened, mostly burned support beams and a couple of chunks of stone foundation at this point.
Jeez. Okay.
But beyond that, there's no one on the street.
I just for safety's sake, I sort of duck into behind a corner and I cast Disguise Self.
Okay. What are you going to look like?
I'm like maybe 4'10" and like human, and I could be like 16, but I could be like 20.
I thought disguise self didn't really change your height.
I think you can do like foot higher or lower.
Okay, well we'll go with that. Okay, so this you have now disguised self.
And I go in the general direction of Hearthhome.
Okay, well this is when, because the main reason I was pointing in the general direction of the shrine is because that is where they are.
Well, I heard Hearthhome, and I'm like, oh no, what?
Yeah,
where are they?
Thankfully you've got in the process of the lunch serving, because what you do have is a cleric slash warlock who does not rely on her eyes at all, and finish it. Make sure everybody has a plate of their stew, and goes, "1 moment, please." And out, you remember Lyra.
Mhm.
She steps out and pads over towards you. Should I not be calling you Clarity right now?
Oh.
I
Hello,
can see that you've done a thing, but that doesn't really work on me.
Well, you can call me Effie.
Effie, all right. You do know that your friends are in the shrine.
No, but that's good to know. Are they? Is everyone at Hearthhome okay?
For the moment, yes, they've got there's a whole bunch of mercenaries camped out in their fields, and um, for now they're all right.
Okay.
The thing you might be worried about, I have a feeling there's been some news brought from home. The thing that you might be worried about is still a few days from kicking off. So,
Oh,
and
okay.
they've got plans to evacuate, but they're not doing so yet. So there's
All right.
time. You're not having to charge all the way into an unfortunate situation if you wanted to regroup with people and make sure that you have all the information that you need.
Okay. What happened to the Golden Bough?
In the process of well, after the seneschal, shall we say, met an untimely end, your friends came into the center of town to prevent an execution. They had not been overly good to some of Hearthhome's young ones, particularly not the demon-looking one. That's not a problem anymore, by the way.
Oh.
We've booted the martial law out. We're fine there, but the martial law was getting ferociously unpleasant, shall we simply say. They came in, rescued the young men, pulled a dragon head out of their bag of holding, and lovely, if somewhat brash, paladin yelling about this is what becomes of tyrants, and a riot started.
That sounds like them.
They were not a part of the riot directly. They were more interested in getting the vulnerable out of its path. But in the course of all of that, the Golden Bough, which the cellar was being used as a hiding spot for those that the regime at the time wouldn't like. I imagine someone eventually found out about it because they burned the place to the ground. Thankfully, as far as I know, everyone who had been hiding in the cellar did manage to get out largely unscathed. But unfortunately, Barreris has passed. The dragon that was murdered killed him and took his form to lead your friends into a trap.
Oh, wow.
Edwina also passed. They
Oh no.
They put her in stocks and whipped her and then left her for a few days. And since we were forbidden from doing any healing magic at the time, on pain of hurting people worse, we couldn't get to her in time.
That's awful.
Most everybody else is doing well, though. When your friends turned back up, they scared off a vast majority of the Crown's Guard. They brought the Baron, rightful king, really, apparently, back to full health, and they nursed him back to health at Hearthhome. And then the Hofflings from that spot, I guess now just on the border of where Starcoast was, came to help out, and then we got squads of Belerace mercenaries, which has done wonders to keep the deaths at least away from the civilian populace. Of course, we do have a few things to think about, given that we might be overflown by an ancient green with a grudge, but
That's why I'm here.
we'll sort that out. But as it turns out, apparently they're probably not going to be fighting it here anyway.
Okay, well, that's
But
good.
that's something you'll need to ask them about.
Right. Before I go, I'm sorry about your berry dragons.
That was. I am as well. I wasn't even here when it happened. They'd sent myself and Miranda to one of the circles of Avernus for a while. We managed to dodge any particular damage, but just so that you're warned in advance, Miranda had to cut her hair. It's very, very short now.
Oh.
It's a bit of a shock when you remember that massive bun in the back, apparently.
Yeah.
But then I don't know what they had to do to get a couple of archfey to find us and bring us out, but they did. There were many stories, and you will have to ask them. I don't know them all.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'll head over there now.
Well, I mean, please do come in. We've got stew on for lunch, and there's plenty.
Okay.
And ushers you back in. Appears in. There's a sort of a friend of yours to see you. The person that you don't actually recognize, although, as if I recall correctly, it's an intelligence check to...
Yeah, against my spell save.
What is your spell save?
15.
And Lyra doesn't have to, because True Sight doesn't give two shits.
6.
Yeah. Hazel, thankfully... Alice's not even in the room, because Eston's sort of, oh, Christ!
9.
Yeah, no.
Oh, this is great.
It's because Heseltine leads to Clarity bitch slapping Heseltine. Is that? Oh my
2
God.
3s in a row.
Me makes sense though. Me makes sense since I only saw it briefly once.
Yeah, but and everybody else is going, what do you mean sort of a friend of yours? And Darvin was still ticking over, Heseltine. God, Heseltine was full of shit. Wasn't it funny when Clarity So he looks up and wait, she's done that trick before.
Hi, I'm Effie. Nice to see you all. Are you guys the Cupcake Coterie?
Insight check.
Deception if you.
I'm just arms crossed. I'm just like, oh, so we're doing this. Okay. That's the look at my face, like, okay.
Lyra, in stifling giggles, is just going, I'm just going to go get Effie a plate.
Thank you.
Remy looks to Lyra.
And you guys
And yeah,
Darvin is like,
Now
Do I
I'm
see
eyeballing
that?
Darvin again.
So with all the giggling going on, can I do an insight check
yes,
on
anyone
this?
who wants to do an insight check on this can do an insight check on this.
I'll try.
Particularly given the one with the fucking true sight.
21.
15.
15.
It's sufficient. Remy just no.
He's not that concerned.
Well,
What's happening?
Remy is also, okay, girlfriend just got gouged up and now she's being talked at by that dude over in the other room, and she's gonna try and talk him out of actually healing her. Fucking hell. That's mostly what's on her mind at the moment. That and, oh yeah, ancient green dragon we're going to have to fight at some point in the not too distant future. This is gonna be a fun week. Everybody else is going, okay, the person with true sight, in particular, is A, trying to stifle giggles, B, getting the hell out. And given Hazel's role, yeah, there's one person who's pulled this trick before. And I'm pretty sure she used that name, too.
Clarity? No. Clarity, Froseth, and Ava can see the gears start to turn and then hit max speed, top out in King's head.
Darvin too. Darvin is actually paying attention.
I'm just gonna stand up and like hold Hazel's chair because I know what's about to happen.
Darvin's clearly giving his reaction, and everyone can just see me vibrate. Then the hypersonic starts.
Holding chair, wincing.
Out of the chair and basically trying to tackle hug Clarity.
I'm small. Don't squash me.
Of course, you're trying to hug someone about 6 inches taller than... So that's a little awkward, and that's...
The only reason I haven't fallen to the floor is I'm still holding the chair. I am laughing so much. It's mostly quiet because I can't breathe.
Ava's like, can someone explain what's going on?
It's
Remy
nice to meet
blinks.
you too.
Just hypersonic squealing noise. That's all coming out of my mouth.
I drop it.
And yeah, Remy, Froseth, and Alisei do see that this has been Clarity the entire time. Of course, it's only Remy that comes to it as a complete surprise that she was under a disguise spell.
Ava.
Hi,
Alice.
Clarity.
Yeah.
Hi. Hello.
I know you.
Yeah, we met once some weeks back.
Clarity, was it?
Yes, Ava, right?
Hey.
Hi.
Yeah.
Okay. It's good
What
to
was
see you
it
again.
about?
Well, I wasn't sure whether Goldendale was safe, so I did what I do, and then I thought it'd be fun.
Gods, I've missed you.
Clarity, just gibbering and still magnetized to her.
Oh,
Breathe,
okay.
Hazel.
Hazel,
Breathing.
give her room.
Like,
All
you can
right.
hear the sort of rattling on the floor as my entire body is still vibrating.
It's
All
like
right.
it's like being hugged by a massage chair.
Do we have any? Oh, yeah.
This is pleasant.
We need
Um,
we need Aaron back with that whole calm emotions thing. Yeesh. Oh wait, I keep forgetting that's a sphere. Never mind.
okay. Who's Aaron?
Oh! Sorry. Right. You you might remember Nye.
Oh, I was wondering where he was.
Yeah. He's.
Sorry.
Probably shouldn't put it that way. He's fine.
Okay.
But I was trying not to use the phrase "no longer with us"
Oh.
because that's not like that.
Okay.
Literally, no longer with us. Not like no.
Okay.
So,
Except.
yeah, he's fine. Except Nerul is involved.
Nerul being the god of death in our current setting.
Is that not no longer with us in that sense?
In his case, no. He's sort of become a intern psychopomp, as it were. A long
Okay.
story. It's a long story.
All right.
But
all
he's
right.
okay. He's
Okay.
made his choice, found his path, and he's
Oh.
best to follow it. So
Well, that sounds good. I think.
shortly before then, we sort of renamed him Aaron, as
Oh.
I no longer seemed appropriate given
Oh.
things. A long story.
Okay.
From another room, you do get Alice going. It was bad for his mental health. Also, hi.
Hi.
Can I get out of here now? You're not done yet. I'm not going to be done for a week. Can I go out and help with the briefing here, please? We are talking about fate of the world. Yes, but if you die doing that, I'm not going to get my info. Oh, for fuck's sake. It peers out, and Clarity, who has, she's only seen Alice once, but it was a while ago. Yeah, back when you first saw her, she could have passed for human. Not so much now. There is no denying at the moment that she is a celestial being. Also, her hair is a fair bit shorter, particularly on one side, and it's kind of slightly haphazardly cut. The best that two people with a dagger could manage to do. And sort of going, help!
Oh. Hi.
Hi, Clarity.
Alice? Is
Yeah.
that you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh. Everybody else has had the time to get used to whatever the hell is going on, but apparently I have embraced my inner celestial or something like that. I don't know.
Oh.
He said that these people have a whole lot more to tell me about. Hazel in particular has things to tell me about what I am and what I do, but he wouldn't tell me because he was too busy asking questions about the Temple of Nerul we wandered around it.
Oh. Okay.
Can I just write it down? Yes, alright, that would be fine. Thank you! It comes out with healed properly, by the way, and carrying a bowl of stew and just going, oh, I am not cut out to be a researcher. Hi.
Oh. Hi. Well,
You're good.
I can do that sort of stuff now that I'm here.
Good. I think
We're great at other things, Alice. So.
I mean, I was the only one who could read anything in there, but the fact is I get bored out of my skull. I want to be doing something and talking to people and all of the rest of it, so here I am, and yeah, I'll write it down. Thank you. Do you want it in celestial? Are you making fun of me? No. Then, yes, please? Okay. Sorry, focus now on you. Not that we are not thrilled to see you, but how? Why? What?
Yeah, I was about to ask that same question, but didn't want to interrupt.
Well, Twilly had sent a message to Andre, and she told me that you guys called out an ancient green dragon.
Uh,
Whose fault was that?
well, we hadn't done it yet, and
Alisaie's just looking at Darvin with arms
I mean, it was
folded.
okay. Yes, it was. I didn't.
Well,
I had the idea of trying to get it out of its lair.
and to be fair, it was you. We're killing the white. We're killing the black. We're killing them all.
Yes, that was me, and I still hold to that. I didn't. My suggestion was to lure it out of its lair so we wouldn't have to deal with anything like we had to deal with the adult. And after that, the plan kind of got away from me.
I thought it had your flair for the dramatic.
Don't worry. We now have 2 flares for the dramatic, and 1 actually has common sense attached.
Oh.
I seem to have gone more in that kind of direction. Just more dancey, sword slinging kind of stuff.
Which reminds me, I have a question for you later,
Okay.
Alisaie.
Okay.
Uh,
But for now,
yeah,
focus
yeah,
on...
yeah.
So you heard that Darvin did a Darvin and you came to be of help?
Yes. There was concern about whether you lot might need some help. And I come bearing help.
Yeah, you're saying, and this is still from the Hazel limpet.
So I've been talking like this the entire time.
Hazel, your lunch is gonna get cold, her lunch is gonna get cold, and her neck's gonna get a crick in it.
Cogitating. Let's go, and I'm gonna go back over to the food and start in on that. Still very much sort of vibrating in joy.
We are very, very happy to have family back.
I'm very happy to see you guys. I've missed you.
And,
Have-
this is probably the best birthday present Hazel could have asked for.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, it is
It's your
still.
birthday! Happy birthday! You give her a big hug.
The limpet situation has reversed.
This limpet knows when to let go, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the full Studio Ghibli. There's I'm glowing again.
I owe you a present.
I mean, you're
You're
here.
the present.
Yeah. There's a reason they call it a presence.
Oh yeah, there's
Oh, no.
speaking of that, the quartermaster over at the mercenary campgrounds wants to do a birthday present for you, Hazel.
What?
It came up there, as I put it to Remy and to Furseth. Take you, multiply by Calatiel, stuff it in a halfling.
Oh my!
I still shudder
I
at that
immediately
description.
thinking of tea trays for some reason.
No tea trays, but they did say something about it's very cold, but I got the heating elements into the tent supports and it hasn't set fire to the canvas yet.
It's the yet of that worries me.
It was just a very casual yet that worried me. Yeah, so
Yeah, we'll have to go check that out. I'm. Today has been a day, and it is now 16,000 times more awesome.
I wonder if I left them enough dragon hide to make Clarity an extra set of armor. I mean, Rizwan's small. The adult green, Corivel, I think was the name that was going by. It, fucker set me on fire. I'm taking his skin.
Oh,
Yeah, he turned out to be even castier than normal.
But yeah, I when dragons get splatted, I have a tendency to, it's a northern thing, I guess. Really, you try not to waste the kill, so skin as
Right.
much of it as I can. And scales in some cases, teeth, etc., etc. But
scales, you say?
yeah, made an absolute pantload of money off the red, which I suppose is fair enough given the whole dyed thing. But yeah.
Wait, okay, hold on. Back up.
Okay.
So, all right. So you died.
Yep.
Okay, so did I, but okay. So that's
Yeah, we had that conversation, but I don't think I went into any real detail about what. So,
right.
yeah, red dragon.
You mentioned a red dragon.
Yep.
And scales?
Yeah.
Did you see? There's this spell that I've been working on, and I'd really like to try it out. But there's this one component that's a little hard to find, and it's a red dragon scale, and nowhere in Belarus had it. Do you know where I could get one?
Rummage. Point! Red dragon's got it.
Oh, thank you.
Hand it over.
Just had it lying around, apparently.
Like you do.
Ava, show her the dagger. And the armor, that's its skin.
And there's another one of its teeth over at Jenna's.
Wow.
Everybody got one, but it's only Hazel and Ava that decided they were actually going to do any bits with it. So if any of the bits can be sufficiently useful to do more than just make me obscenely wealthy, then fine.
Obscenely wealthy is also good, though.
Yeah.
Let's be fair.
As Remy put it, you're amazing and you're also kind of rich now. So,
I mean, you know, I do still have the one, and I didn't really have any plans for it. I was sort of keeping it as a memento of a very major event in our lives. But assuming Alice wouldn't mind if you would have any use for it, you're welcome to mine as well. The two
Oh.
things. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. Well,
but
just keep
thank
it in mind.
you.
Yeah, keep it in mind.
All right.
so yeah, now you can try out your spiffy spell.
Yes.
By the way,
Thank you.
what spell is it? By the way,
Oh, it's called Agonazer's Scorcher. It's fun. There's
With a name
fire.
like that, it's fun.
Does sound dramatic.
Well,
it is.
I'm sure it's fun watching it affect enemies.
Yeah, I mean, considering,
Yeah.
well, I think it was, what was it that he used on you? What was it called? Do we know? I don't remember.
We
All I
don't-
know is you just suddenly were.
We don't know. I was entirely on fire. I'm still pissed off about how much of my hair I had to lose.
You two did a good job on salvaging.
To be fair, Reed did most of the work.
And you look great.
Oh, I attribute that entirely to you because I wasn't dealing with the dagger at the time. Anyway,
Remy, you did what?
Dagger is a bit easier to cut hair with when it's not your own hair.
yeah, probably. I don't think it's easy to cut your own hair with anything.
Can confirm.
That sounds like a childhood story I'm going to ask your mothers about rather than you.
Yeah, no, definitely. They tell it better.
So,
After all, they tell the blueberry pie story way better than I do.
oh boy. Of course, we bring up Blueberry as soon as Clarity's back.
I've
Sorry,
recovered.
Clarity.
I heard you tied for second.
So we need to go back to the quartermaster.
Well, don't we need to see Jenna first?
And we need.
Yeah, we got
Right.
a bunch of people to see in town first,
Yeah.
and then meandering back over
Okay.
to home.
Well, if I can quickly ask, Alice, your breastplate. You're not using it anymore, are you?
Generally not, no. I mean, hell, half the time it was only for, I'd say show, but really it's more of a I didn't really want to give the game away kind of thing. And there really isn't any point now.
Yeah. Well, what I said about the shield fitting, I think I could, if we can have it refit and you don't mind, I think I could get use out of it.
I think that one's in Frosa's bag of holding. I think.
Yeah. He's definitely got
Usually it's where we keep the stuff that we don't dig out that often.
Right.
I am just going to say that because I was not keeping track of it.
Sounds good. Yeah, I don't check bag, see if it's in there.
And point, there it is.
Excellent. Yeah. Bring that. We'll bring that.
Put it back in.
Yeah.
bring
See
it
Jenna and I'll speak with her about getting it refit.
So, speaking of things to do in town, Ava should probably talk to the narc about Bo. I'm sure he can probably put something together better than the standard one she's using.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Or it's worth a shot to ask. I mean, the man does incredible work.
so many teeny
jeez.
tiny bits of furniture.
I didn't even realize that, Ava. I am so sorry. That was terrible.
It's fine. You're fine.
Worth a shot. We're talking about bows.
Yeah, I didn't notice it either. Thanks for pointing it out. Oh no,
Sorry,
my
that was
head hurts.
terrible.
They have not changed it even the tiniest bit. Except for where they significantly have. It's kind of weird.
That does tend to be the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. One thing that we didn't exactly mention is that we are going to be trying to effectively resurrect Star Coast.
Oh, that's wonderful.
We're just
Yeah,
not 100% sure how yet.
Oh,
Bro's
Yeah.
figuring that out.
Working on the details.
We are, in
It's
fact,
good.
trying to pre-plan.
Like I
Start
said,
changing.
except for the things that have.
Yeah, I think Bro's finally figured out that he's better at planning than several of us combined.
I think it's more that he's figured out that most of us, okay, sorry, I'm going to have to say it, most of you just don't plan.
Very true.
I mean, you kind of start with a general idea, but then instead of fixing up the framework, you just kind of go...
General's good enough, and
Yeah,
out.
I mean, that's the thing. I understand you can never prepare for every contingency, but you should be at least aware of every contingency. Or at least try to keep the fact that there are contingencies in mind and it's not just going to be exactly how you want it 100% of the time. The fact that people seem to think that it is going to turn out how they want it 100% of the time, I think people are learning now, but it says it's a testament to how their lives have been up until they started adventuring.
yes, I've
Fancy
noticed.
pants rich boy. Of course, no, she doesn't know that Nora called him that once upon a time, but it still fits.
Yeah, he's just sort of. Mm.
Okay, I will not call you that. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Eh,
It's fine. Yeah, memories. It's fine.
Okay. I still won't call you that. I don't like being the cause of wince face.
Sorry, and thank you. And to be fair, it still fits.
Well, your pants aren't so fancy, but some of your shirts.
That's not entirely my fault, given okay, the code is not entirely.
And that thing you bought was it was Rainbow Connection, I think, wasn't it? That or Fairy Fire. Yeah, no, it was
Plus
Fairy
the armor
Fire.
that looks
It's
like
Fairy Fire,
anything
that's
he
right.
wants it to look like.
Yeah, but it's not. But he's actually learned that looking like anything he wants is great, but what he really wants to look like is somebody who,
Is alive.
yeah, there you go.
To put it bluntly.
Trust me, corpse isn't a good look for anybody.
No, it is not. Can confirm.
Yep.
Same.
Yeah, I've gotten better about my Thunderwave placement.
That's good.
I only hit Remy the once, and I apologized first. I didn't really have much of a choice at the time.
That's fair.
And at least
Since he's gotten just better.
it was the
placement
one
in
that was
general.
armored. So
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think it's just that Rhea is cross that the only time she actually seems to get targeted, it was that once by her own freaking side.
Every other thing has gone immediately after Alice.
Well, you see somebody in armor that impressive, and then you see somebody in no armor at all. Which are you going to try to murder first?
yeah, I
The busy
mean,
ones.
yeah.
Especially if they've murdered like several of your kin.
yeah.
Also a good point.
Yeah. And we were trying.
So,
Hey, you all did significant damage to them. It's not anybody's fault that I wound up with the final blow half the time.
Yeah, well, of the people who hit the hardest, it's probably you, Remy, and Froseth. So
I
if
know.
someone's gonna get the final blow, it's gonna be one of you three.
I don't know. We've got somebody with spells with Scorcher in the name. I have a feeling that if this were a competition instead of a team effort, she'd probably win hands down. It's just us trying to keep anything from hitting her.
Yeah, because that's the next target on the list usually for these things. It's magic users first, then squishy people, and then the cans they want to pop open and savor. Ugh.
That was graphic.
That was oddly specific.
That was in the book, okay? That was in the book.
Okay.
If I recall correctly, didn't Twilly and Miranda write that fucking thing?
Probably mercenary talk coming out, knowing.
Yeah, knowing them. Oh yeah, as an incidental, you've got you've got part of the goddess of knowledge living in the Hearthhome basement.
What?
Yeah, I'll explain that in greater detail when we have a minute, and I'll introduce you. But
Oh,
that's something that has to happen in sort of a more controlled situation than out here about in town.
Well, we're not about in town. We're in the shrine, and I've been
Well, no,
talking
in the
about.
shrine, but
I've been talking
you
about.
know what I mean.
I've been talking about this to Eston for the last 10 minutes.
Oh boy.
Because remember, it was scrawled on that wall. What do you think I was telling him?
No. I didn't know we'd gotten to Shinaira yet.
Well, we got to the whole dual aspects of the goddess thing, because, written on wall, and that was mostly what he wanted. I only briefly went over the gamut of traps, which I thought was a lot more impressive, by the way. Oh, sod off, you adventuring.
Those were some interesting traps.
But yeah, what I heard something about hearing about bits of the creation myth that hadn't been fully eradicated, found in that temple of Pelor that you guys went to for that sword, which
Yeah.
is on the list somewhere. Anyway, we found the temple that Eston got all his notes from. And after running the gamut of traps, we found the rest of the writing on the wall, so to speak. And I suppose it was a good thing that they did what they did, because it was all written in Celestial, and I am the only one among them who can read it. So, as it turns out, what happened was that this extraplanar conqueror sludge attacked your goddess of knowledge and wounded her. And she went to Pelor and Nerul for help, because back in the creation of the earth, she had helped to broker the peace between them, because Pelor was up for creating life upon life upon life upon life, and they were kind of running out of space, and he was just like, I can create more space! And the goddess of wisdom thought this was particularly wasteful, so they wound up with Nerul shepherding the souls, and she brokered that particular arrangement, so they both owed her. So her divinity is currently safe with Pelor, but because you can't have a goddess of knowledge cut off from everything, her more personality aspects reincarnate. Generally long-lived species, tends to prefer humanoid, tends to prefer female, and currently living as an emotionally traumatized young for the species drow that was rescued from Gray's Inn and currently kind of hiding out in the Hearthhome basement.
Yeah, we on our way out from Gray's Inn, getting sat on by a great honking white dragon, we picked her up and brought her along, because that was a mess that was collapsing in on itself very, very quickly.
And then they figured out exactly what it was they'd saved.
And
Panicked!
Yeah, a little bit. And we also saved
The son of the
son of the
Baron.
governor, the Baron of Gray's Inn as well.
He was nice.
Who's out of character name escapes me, but
Yeah.
I've got it written in my notes, but I have to find it.
Yeah, we honestly don't know what happened to the Baron. We saved his son, but
Yeah.
Leaving was quick, to say the least. We teleported out quickly.
Yeah. That's the same drow that we met that one time with the
apparently,
thing
yes.
with the tentacles. Huh.
The Roper, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yes.
the one that tried to eat several people.
I
Yeah.
remember.
I've heard the story, but it's interesting having more people around that actually experienced it.
Speaking of stories involving things trying to eat us, that's been about half of our entire encounters with stuff. It's either been things trying to set us on fire and just murder, or it's been stuff that is apparently very hungry, like the burrowing mob that ate me, and then ate Darvin.
Aaron.
And Aaron.
And
Although, to be
Aaron,
fair, I think it got me last.
It got Aaron first. Remember,
Yeah,
he was
right.
he was wandering off on the outskirts of
That's
the party,
right, yeah.
and shloomp.
Yep.
Yep, it got him. We got
Murdered
him
that
out,
too.
then it got me.
Spat you out. Then it got him. Yeah, I believe me, I remember this. I was there for that one.
You were the one doing the getting us out most of the time.
Yeah, with that. Oh, Hazel is currently carrying that massive axe that Alice was carrying when you first met her.
Oh. That's impressive.
Yeah, I went from a hammer to something a lot sharper.
I see that. And crockery survives.
everywhere shivers.
Crockery survives, but apparently chairs don't so much. She apparently got
Oh.
incredibly pissed off after the debacle in the Elven Wild throne room and vented her frustration on a throne after her celestial band of radiant energy fairy dragons nibbled a bunch of Crownsguard to death.
Which is a site I'm still trying to figure out how to put to word, to lyric, but I'll figure something out.
My
I
mom,
keep wanting to go dragon, wagon, but no, that's not quite right.
my so-called mother, tried to hand us off to the dragon. And, well, she got out, so the only thing left to vent my frustration on was her chair.
Yeah, that nasty bint left before the fight even started.
Should
You're-
probably mention one of the dragons involved happens to be my half sister.
Half dragon happens to be half sister.
Oh.
I was leaving you to tell that one because it's it's not our place. If you know,
Mm-hmm.
but let's face it. Thankfully, your half sister is not a full dragon. She's just
She's bitchy enough.
She's obnoxiously powerful, but her nose still goes satisfyingly crunch.
Which
If I could do that image trick, I would show you. I promise.
I know.
We got her
I'll
that
just
much at
imagine
least.
it. That will do. Anyway, the
Yeah.
delightful Elfina, that's her name,
Well, the name
is
she
among
gave
other
you.
things.
The name
Yeah.
she gave you. Anyway, we still don't know her name. At least we know what she actually looks like now. Under the
Oh, you
very
never met her before?
Well, I had, but not under her true form.
Oh.
She posed as someone else who pretended to be a friend, and I trusted her blindly, being an idiot, and
Hey,
You didn't have any
name-
reason not to.
no, don't call my friend an idiot.
Yeah,
Well.
so we're going to make sure she pays for
Let-
every single iota.
Let Ava finish. It's one of
Let
those
Ava
stories you kind of need to tell sometimes.
one night my entire household was razed to the ground.
Oh.
That's how I got this.
Oh.
But, well, not that she still has the mark, but I got her too.
That's good.
Yeah.
Some small satisfaction.
Oh, there'll be more satisfaction for you. We're gonna make sure of that.
Counting on that.
You should probably mention what you mean by raised your house to the ground. Because that could mean a lot of different things. Yeah, there's houses, and then there's houses.
Oh, right, yeah. Because basically, I'm from Cedar Grove nobility.
Oh.
Well, I was. I don't know if I still am at this point.
Well, you still technically are, at least until you find somebody to hand it off to. By the way, Darvin, very, very quickly, before I forget though, you don't really have that much interest in being nobility either in Starcoast or Cedar Grove.
I mean, I started already kind of.
No, do you want it?
Oh. Do I want it?
No,
No,
let's
but
yeah,
no,
no,
do I have a
no,
choice?
no. Yes, you do. We
But-
have
huh?
we have the rightful king of Baronsvere right here in town. And we have a charming very strong-willed woman who didn't want to leave Star Coast even after the heart was dead. Why don't we just get her ennobled?
Yeah, she's right on the border there.
And the only reason that she went that far was because she had to. To warn people what they might be walking into. She stayed through the fog. She's held the line. She's earned the place. And
Hell yeah. There's nobody else I'd trust with it.
And I'm sure if we went looking, we could find somebody that we could ennoble for Cedar Grove too.
Yeah.
By the way, Ava, I'm sorry if I ever stole from your house.
Oh no. Oh no. Was that what the books, I swear.
Did you have any, Ava? Did you? I don't remember. I don't remember. Well, I don't think you had any pets of your own. But did anybody there have any cute animals around?
Well,
How is Norman, by the way?
There were always cats and.
Oh, he's in my pouch.
There were always cats and dogs around the place. I mean, it's a noble household. You had those big, well-bred carpets on legs half the time.
To be clear, I did not steal fluffy animals. I stole books.
But you were compelled to go into places just to pet the cats.
That is true. I have done that.
And dogs too. Remember, all dogs are
Right.
inspirational.
Yes.
Yes, I heard about this one.
And Bunny.
Yeah. Oh, how is that, by the way? Are you still
Nope.
Nope. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he is no longer
Progress.
randomly a rabbit.
He and the platinum champion have an understanding.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. And I'll just kind of.
Yeah, there's a because
There's
of the
like
winter.
scale tattoo.
A scale and what looks like. I mean, you've seen enough Draconic Rune, even if you can't read
Yeah.
it, to know that that's ancient Draconic, the kind that you couldn't really probably you couldn't decipher words out of just because it's so antiquated. But yeah,
Yeah,
scales
it's still
and dragon
taking some
imagery.
getting used to.
So wait, what does the tattoo have to do with non-bunny thing?
Bahamut claimed him, and basically he had to prove himself largely to Bahamut, because apparently Bahamut loaned the power to do that curse bullshit or something.
Oh,
Because I mean, how else were they going to know if he proved himself?
that's fair.
And yeah, so.
Congratulations.
Yeah, also, that's, well, you saw me back in the day how I was always fumbling with being a bard and lore and all that. Well, I'm not doing that anymore.
Oh. What are you doing?
Alice just sort of flicks the shield. Ping!
Yeah, that's new.
Yeah, I'm gonna be I'm more of I'm a Valor bard.
Oh, great.
I was no good at lore. It just wasn't me, and this is me. I've found my path, and I'm stepping on it and taking it.
He is much more into getting up in the enemy's face and being what they tell stories about than he is about teasing the threads of a story out of a lumpy wool sweater of narrative.
It suits you. You look confident.
Yeah.
Well,
So do you, actually.
From all the stories he's told me, he's always been best when he's just decided, fuck it, I'm gonna go in and stab the motherfucker.
Oh, Throsef, should we mention...
Mention.
You're gonna have to clarify
there are
there.
so many things.
I'm pretty sure I know what, and I was gonna wait until I could introduce them.
That's something for home.
Given
Yeah.
that we've now brought it up, we may as well give her fair warning. Because if I
That's
recall,
part of why I brought it up. Yeah, so there wasn't a complete.
considering you found out more about the whole Silver Dragonborn thing when Clarity wasn't with you.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody turn.
Not Alisei. Alisei is not watching. She's just, just topping up various beverages and helping herself to another bit of bread.
So
Kind of like
through
popcorn,
various circumstances, what would be my older sister was brought back to life, and she's at Hearthhome. But she's at the age she was then, so she's kind of like a little sister. It's my little big sister.
Oh,
Her name is Faraday, and one
Yeah.
of these days she is going to be made a wizard. From the looks of things,
oh,
she is curious
Yeah.
about everything.
And she's
She's learning from Mom, and there was an entire thing where they're sort of working on part of what we're going to do to deal with the dragon. It's, if I remember right, it's a prismatic wall, but inside out.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume, given you are a wizard and that's one of the spells, and given that she's talked to some people at who actually study at the academy, and they've definitely heard of Twilly. So and that's one of Twilly's specialties. She can muck around with, and that's probably why they're doing what they're doing now. But so yeah, you know what prismatic wall is.
oh, well, I'm going to have to pick her brain a little bit. I'd love to learn more about it. But I'm happy for you, Froseth. You another silver dragonborn.
Yeah, turns out where I'm from wasn't the only spot, so there is more out there.
Oh,
Just not many, and they keep getting picked off.
Yeah.
But apparently the local government up in Demille in the north of Equitas is trying to protect what few of her more small bipedal kindred she can. So I think that was part of what her name is Faraday, by the way. What bringing her back was in aid of, partially because she's apparently really likes Froseth, and there is that tattoo that we really need to save up for a permanent version of. But also partially from the species point of view, it's probably good to have another one, particularly a female, running around. Although they're not going to do anything about that part of it yet, I should hope.
I should hope there'll be some years.
Anyone who would ever think that is a good idea is going to get several kicks to the daddy bags.
Well, first of all, I don't think the person who arranged it done has daddy bags, and second of all, I think she's smarter than that. Darvin.
Before I forget, when you left, your boots ended up seeing use. Aaron had been using them. When he decided to leave, they ended up coming to, well, me. I hadn't actually started using them, so it seems only fitting to return them. So
you didn't need them or want them?
Well, I mean, I just hadn't got around to getting, attuning to them yet.
Oh, okay.
But
and now you're back.
Here you go.
You'd be the best person to use it.
Exactly.
Well, I'm not going to say no to shoes. So.
Not what I meant, but
And
okay.
on that note, we have slightly ooched past break time, so we'll take our 5 minutes, and when we come back, we'll actually try to get to something resembling errands and stuff like that there. But yeah, this is basically what this session is going to be about, getting poor Clarity up to speed.
Yeah.
I will see you guys in 5 minutes. And we're back. The Cupcake Coterie has gathered up a Clarity and had a bit of a getting up to speed session, as it were. And that lunch has been had. Clarity's little joke has been had. um, once lunch is finished, they can go about their business and do errands, check on things in town, that kind of thing. Where do you want to go?
I think we should start with Jenna's.
Works for me.
Yeah, that's cool.
Anybody have any other thoughts?
Well, first it was just saying we should check Lenark's to see if we can get Ava a better bow.
Yeah, that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Thanks for that,
So-
Percy. I hadn't thought of it myself.
toss up
I
as
was
to which one
actually
we want to go
thinking about-
first.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about, just looking in on him anyway, just because last time I saw him, he was not well.
Well, hadn't they healed him up? Actually,
Well-
Hazel healed him up.
He was in a state, but I helped.
No, be nice
Hazel-
to see the guy up and around.
Yeah, that's entirely fair. I mean, I'm not arguing. I'm just saying that the last time you saw him, from what I've been told, he was not well, and then he was.
Fair.
Nope.
So I guess we'll go Jenna, then Lenark.
Yeah, well, Jenna's is closest, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So, onward through the various bits of snow and yeah, see, and the drying frozen blood on the snow and that pile of mulch over there, and
Oh,
Your handiwork?
Eston's, actually.
Oh,
well, the mulch was a stun, but pointing to Hazel, mostly hers.
oh,
Kinda.
well,
shifty eyes.
there was a whole bunch of stuff, basically, half dragon, half devil assassin thing.
Like you
And-
do.
My Ree is very smart. That whole magical darkness thing, just she made it go poof.
Mm.
I'm very glad that worked.
Well,
Not that there was any doubt.
Oh yeah, totally. Never any doubt at all whatsoever.
Well, if you hadn't made it go poof, there would have been a bit more mess to deal with, probably. Because unlike the usual spell, this thing could move it.
Yeah, it is. For some reason, it was one of those things that had gotten a handle on that spell so well, so inherent into its very essence that that it could take the basic rules that bubble there stays there and go, oh nope, and the thing was just the bubble just kept following us.
Oh, that's crazy.
Following us, you weren't there until the end of it.
Well, I'm talking I'm using us as a plural for the party in general because it was primarily following you.
Well, it was primarily following us. I'm just gonna leave it at that because I don't think they would have stopped with me.
Yeah. Okay, Jenna's.
Yeah, and, there's smoke coming in from the chimney, and
going to I'm gonna first knock and declare praise be to the forge.
the door opens, and there's Jenna looking pretty unscathed. Oh, that's new and interesting. Oh, hello! Look who's back.
Hello, Jenna. It's
Come
good to
in,
see
come
you.
in. It's cold out there. I'm sure that there's a couple of folks here who are looking for some work they asked to have done a few weeks ago.
And I'm just gesturing to Ava.
I mean, it's not much of a fanciness, to be honest. I think the rapier you've got there, from the looks of it's actually fancier than I managed. Doesn't do anything particularly special. I had some other bits and pieces I was working on, which you'll see in a bit, but I did manage to turn it into something you can use. And opens up a presentation case, and insofar as these things go, it's simple, it's elegant, it's very sharp, and Shay's managed to keep the house crest so that it's an accent piece that can be used for stabbing, but it's a pretty basic rapier beyond that.
It's amazing, thank you.
Not a problem. If you decide that someone needs a more personal revenge, then shiny sword over there can grant. Now you have the means. As for you, there's no real presentation to this the way that she's done with Ava. She just sort of reaches into a corner and pulls out. Again, it's a fairly basic spear, but because of the dragon tooth, the type of dragon that uses it, it does do an extra little bit of fire damage, but if you want damage, you're more likely to want to use the gestures to the axe, which I do not believe you have. I had, and Alice says just, I have these! Alright, that's fair.
And I'm hoping to do this thing justice.
Alice turns around, you already have. Really, seriously, you already have. I mean, it was originally used, the way I saw it anyway, to protect the original owner when they couldn't protect themselves. So, it's following a grand tradition.
Yay. And I'm just I'm holding the spear and just looking at it. It's like, Jenna, you are continually infinitely awesome.
Thank you.
All
very
the more
much.
reason why my spiritual weapons have been manifesting as your fist.
All right. That
Quite effectively, I might add.
that must be something to see in combat. I'm almost sorry I've missed it now.
Um, was there anything else that you were waiting
Really
for?
looks up. The dragon slaying sword has been remarkable, though I'm sure you already knew that.
That's nice to hear from someone who's actually been using it. So thanks very much. But while praise is nice and all, it looks like somebody else has got something they might be requesting.
Yes. As wonderful as the weapons I got from you are, I find myself only really using one weapon at a time. So having a pair doesn't seem to be the best for me. If you've got something like a short sword or something that I might be able to use,
And everybody else is
more
seeing
effectively?
the little smile.
You've been planning for this.
Might be.
Hail Jenna, praise be to the forge.
The steps over to workbenchy kind of area. Now this is what I've been putting a lot of the work into, because it was a tricksy sort of a thing that I wanted to do justice. I like my challenges, you see. It's it's again, it's a tribute to the forge and all of its glories. So what I came up with was this, and she pulls out a Dao, a single-edged Chinese short sword kind of thing. And it's again moderately simple, sort of silvery, but not, clearly not straight up silver. Sort of tassel thing attached to the handle with the little beads in the colors representing the four elements on it. They're not going to clatter over much, so they're not going to do your stealth any worse than your being 6.5 foot tall and shiny do. But there's a trick to this one. It's currently set to fire because of what I am. But once per day you can change the elemental attunement on this blade. You set it to fire, do fire damage, and you know the spell Burning Hands? You probably, yes. You've been hanging around wizards.
I think we've seen it once before, so yeah.
Yeah. You can use that once per day. You set it to water, you do extra ice damage, and you can do the breathing underwater thing once per day. Set it to air, you're doing lightning damage, and you can... Looks at Remy. You must know Misty Step by now. You can cast that once per day. You set it to earth, you do an extra force damage, and you can cast Earthbind once per day.
It's amazing.
I'll put it in your sheet
Okay.
later on. I'm pretty sure I can set the attacks to so you know what you're clicking and when. But obviously, if you want to change the attunement, it takes about a minute to do so. So doing it in the middle of combat's probably not gonna work for you. So it requires a little bit of forethought, but I figure you're a wise enough sort of gentleman. You'll figure something out, and offers it up to you.
Takes it.
Yeah. At first, it's more for a humanoid hand, but it quickly shifts to accommodate, to feel right in your hand.
Right. Anybody else? Because I just don't want to interrupt anybody. I just want to make sure everybody, because I did have a request. But but I didn't want to step on anybody else. So I'm. Hell, you can probably tell just from the way I'm carrying myself different, even now that
You
I realize
don't
it.
need to explain the reason
Anyway.
why. Tell me what you want.
Froseth, can you grab the breastplate out?
Oh, yep. Pulls out the bag, pulls out the breastplate.
I need that refit for me.
Okay, that's...
I nudge him.
What? Alice said I could already, right?
She's
What do
saying
you say?
She's saying
Oh,
you could have said
please.
please.
Oh, sorry. It's been a weird day. I'm sorry.
Sometimes I miss just making all shoes. It'll take me a few hours. I'll see what I can do with it.
Yay.
Thank you.
Quick thing. I notice your armor's got a few extra advantages to it. You know you're not going to be able to wear that under a breastplate.
Ah, crud. We're about to go up against an ancient green dragon, so I'm going to need this, but
Which mean...
Sorry.
You know what? No, I'm going to let you work it out. You want to interrupt me in the middle of a sentence? Then fine! Wisdom check from, like, everybody else. Because she's not listening to Darwin anymore.
Oh boy.
Would I be able to make that insight for intuiting things, or
No. This is
Just
straight up. I mean, it's a little bit... It's almost a little bit closer to a more intelligence, working something out kind of way.
8.
Yeah, it's mostly Froseth, which makes a certain amount of sense, that tells him in no uncertain terms that she was about to offer to make some poison, to make that thing poison resistant, until he opened his big fat mouth. And Froseth might be able to fix this if he tries.
Thank you, Jenna. We are unbelievably grateful for everything you do for us. I apologize for Darwin being Darwin. would you?
Oh, sorry.
Would you be able to add something to the armor as well for what we need it for?
You mean try to actually make it poison resistant?
Yes.
Alice says just, I've got scales from a green dragon, if that helps. Probably need 1 or 2, if that can be spared. Not a problem. It's been scales for days today. Rummage. Thank you for asking politely. I'm sure you would have, you have let me finish my explanations. I see that you're looking at charging in, but that doesn't apply to everything. Sometimes if you wait for an offer to come along, it comes out better for you.
Blink, blink, blink. Sorry.
And then, as much for old time's sake as anything else, just sort of picks him up and hangs him on one of the coat hooks.
Looks oddly comforted.
That is so weird seeing it from this angle.
Okay, that gets a laugh. That gets it outright.
All right. And it grabs him, brings him down. Now I've clearly got some work to do. So out you get.
Right.
Be back in a couple of hours, and I'll see what I've got for you.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Infinite thanks.
Good seeing you again.
Likewise. How's the belt and all working out?
Oh, very well.
Oh,
I
that's
haven't had to use it for the past couple of months, but it's, you know.
well. Let's hope it continues to serve you well. We'll see what, if you like, we'll see what else we can dig up dagger-wise, though.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
sure what we still got in storage. It's always good to have a clear out now and again.
Well, if you find anything, I'd be interested to take a look.
Obviously. But for now, out! Mostly because, again, people seem oddly comforted when she's shouting.
Can someone unhook Darwin?
No, she already did.
Okay.
She just did it to make
I'm
it
already
funny.
outside.
Okay.
As soon as she mentioned out, I was like,
LSA sort of leans to Ava. He's A, got a bit of a crush, and B, terrified as fuck of her.
See why.
I'm just kind of meandering after them, sort of between Darvin's Neum and Clarity's hanging back just that tad.
So yeah, eventually you are all back out into the snow.
which is the
I
only reason Darwin probably is not looking more flushed than he is.
Well, no, to be fair, you get quite red in the cheeks when it's cold, nippy air.
That's true. And knowing him, he probably grabbed a handful of snow and went.
What? Why?
Trying to cool down his face, isn't he?
It's just gonna get more red from cold burn.
Right, and this is Darwin.
No, that she's saying this to him.
Oh, my bad.
Still hasn't entirely figured out how cold weather works.
Yeah, that.
Y'all from the coastal countries that don't see snow that much. It's kind of hysterical. First, and I will try not to be too overtly smug about it.
To be fair, I'm liking this. I like it, but yeah, what Hazel said.
I'm going to lob you into a snowbank one of these days. Just you wait.
Let's see, Lenarx is that way, so... And I take off full tilt.
Wait for us, Hazel.
I don't know where Lenarx is, and I'm not following little green blur.
You can follow her tracks, that's fine.
Well, we've been there before, so
I will walk a measured
way.
pace.
So yes, Hazel is very clearly first at Lenarx.
I'm just happily, patiently waiting. I figured I'd leave a trail.
At which point, Alice A just sort of looks at Hazel, and then just sort of picks her up and over the shoulder.
Huzzah!
Okay.
I'm like completely like not even remotely disconcerted by this. I'm just flopping with a grin.
Well, at least he keeps her from getting away again. And then actually turns around so Hazel can knock if she wants to.
Just very carefully. Tunk, tunk, tunk.
Lenark opens up. And what is... What?
Hi-oh.
Why?
Alice, that's on you. You're the one who picked me up.
Because otherwise you run off.
Exactly.
And you know better than anybody, except for, like, everybody else in town, what happens when she runs off. She does things. You know? This is incredibly fair. Come in. And turns around, still
Uh-oh.
carrying Hazel, and walks it.
What? What happened? Oh, jeez. Okay.
Flee. Oh, we can keep going and have Clarity being largely quiet. So, it's sort of, where can I? Points to Hazel with the free arm. Where can I put this? There is troublesome child chair over there, and what is sitting in that corner is effectively a beanbag. You know, one of those ones that's nearly impossible to get out of.
Come on, stay there. Stay there.
And it just sort of drops
Stay there.
Hazel into it. Poof. And it just sinks
What?
into the beanbag with it kind of half sloop over her.
We are home.
Sorry, I didn't even hear that.
It is just. I love being home.
You've been in that chair a few times too many, haven't you, Hazel?
Possibly.
Right.
And I'm just kind of just letting myself just sort of settle into it like quicksand.
For those of you who have not met Lenark, he is a... Think Reinhardt from Overwatch. He is huge. He is freaking huge. I mean, massive, massive hands, massive, massive body, grayish white hair, beard. And yet, the work you've seen him do and the stuff that's on the walls is surprisingly intricate for somebody with hands like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, hello. You have new persons.
Yeah, there's been some changes.
That was asking for introductions, perhaps? Maybe?
Sorry. I'm
'Cause,
Ava.
you know, new people in town. It is nice to meet you, Ava.
Yeah.
Glances over at Remy. I don't think he's actually no, he has technically met her. So it's sort of Alice, hi. It's, there are so many questions I could ask, but are all incredibly rude. No, I'm not human. Moving on. Okay. Is it you that I have to thank for the fact that we now have mercenaries and less of the Crown's Guard assholes? Thank you very much for that. I did not like them over much.
It's the least we could do.
So, I imagine that while at least some of this might be to check in, is probably not all of what is to be doing. So, how can I help you?
I pull my bow. So you might, I don't know if you've heard, we are looking to face down some dragons. And I was hoping if you had any, I was hoping maybe you had some, maybe a bow that would be more efficient than this one for that. Because I have my swords, but that would mean being close, and if I can be at range while others are close at the same time, that would be more balanced.
There are so many different kinds of dragons, and I think that the better question for a bow rather than an arrow, the bit that actually sticks itself into the dragon, I think possibly you could have asked, I need a better bow. Would you be able to provide one for me? It's a little bit less complicated for me to try to figure out what it is that you are looking for. May I see your bow, please?
That's true. I'm sorry. And I hand over my bow.
I think remembering from this one, gesturing to Darwin, that you are catching the disease of over-explanation. You may
Maybe.
need to quarantine the two of you, lest it spread further. And Alice is just, I like this guy. I test the draw on it.
I was trying to be specific. There's lots of different types of bow as well.
There is, but is all delivery method for arrow. So what you are aiming it at is less relevant.
Okay.
Let me see. And it tests the draw on the thing and just sort of goes, who made this thing? No, I am serious. Who made this thing?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Does Ava know?
Probably it was the one she picked up from the armory on her way out before the house burned. It was, for all she knows, it was a training bow. She didn't really have the experience.
I'm not really sure. Why?
Because it is about adequate. Thinking. There's a lot of clunk over there.
I think that was cat.
We also, if we need to, there's a by right-clicking the person's icon on Discord, we can selectively briefly
mute them, but I'd rather not do that if I don't have to, because then I might forget to unmute and it could get awkward. And since you have swords as well as bow, you do not want to get too far away. And you want to be able to move to places relatively quickly. I have a question for you, or more to the point, from your associates, because this is going to have a bit of a bearing on what bow it is you shall have. How good an archer is she? And she got an arrow directly into a Dracolich's eye socket once.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
she's hit
Well,
damn near every single thing she shot at.
She's hit some she's hit some very interesting shots. Other cases being when she's hit something, it's been just kind of hit but not sticking.
Yeah. And of course, if she is going to be alternating between sword and bow, she might offend Victoria. Probably should not have that. How are you on battlefield movement?
How do you mean?
What means and methods do you have to move about the battlefield?
I have a Zephyr Strike, which makes me go faster.
But that does not get you directly to a place.
Not really.
You're muted.
It's all right. No, I had a thought, but that's something else. You had those arrows, but that doesn't apply to this. I don't believe. Does it, Ava?
They're different. Yeah, they
That's what I
switch.
thought.
They still move you on the battlefield, however.
Yeah, true.
So it might be worth mentioning.
I mean, I suppose I've had these arrows of switching. I don't have many of them.
Yeah, they are limited, and if they are switching, then they move another thing to another place.
Exactly.
What you want is something that will get you close to an enemy in at least one moment, as it were. These are not things that can be used constantly. You know how magical items are.
Mhm.
I can provide you, if you need, and if you want a thing that allows you to move closer to the enemy, keep in mind that then you would have to get farther away again yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have somewhere in here. It goes on a bit of a rummage and comes out with it's a nice enough bow, fairly plain, kind of a strange black wood that it's made from, but no other ornamentation. This was called the far jump bow. Once per day, you speak command word fire arrow, and you immediately teleport to where the arrow lands. As I say, only once per day. These things they charge, and but if in case of big fights and you are far away and your arrows are not as helpful as you might like them to be, you can move in somewhat closer and do the stabbing of the things.
Sounds amazing.
Offers it. I'll put that in your sheet later on.
Thank
The draw is somewhat better. You may have to practice with it a little bit to get used to it, but should hopefully give you a little bit more in the way of both accuracy and power when you hit a thing. And you are fine for arrows elsewise. I had to make some specialized shafts for your dragon slaying arrows. I assume those are for you.
Mm-hmm.
Those should serve you reasonably well. I am not sure if I do not know what will happen if you mix the far jump bow's magic with the magic of the dragon slaying arrows, but it is something to think about when you're using this. Particularly, I mean, given that these would be for your dragon. You see, this is why I asked the question about the, it is the arrows that matter rather than the bow for what you are fighting. But no, you just might want to be a little bit careful about mixing those magic. The average, the average lightning arrow or psychic arrow, or any of the rest of the simple enchantments, that should not be a problem. But these ones, the ones that Jenna over there, she made the tips for, that is something else.
So basically, if I'm using the dragon slaying arrows, don't try and teleport with it.
I would not recommend it unless it is a matter of emergency. And even then, be prepared for strangenesses. I do not know what strangeness is, but that is because her magic is all down to gods and things, and mine tends more... I don't even do all that much of it. It is just on a more natural bent, really. So it is not over much to look at, but sometimes I have to sacrifice the aesthetics for actual functionality. So hopefully I have been helpful.
Thank you.
Praise be to Lenark. I'm still just sort of sunk into the beanbag o' doom. Just kind of wiggling a little bit.
I have no words. I perhaps he should cover her mouth up or something.
Thank you for the furniture for Jaloi, by the way, again.
It is entirely fine, although I understand that you have been seeing my competition elsewhere. There have been stories of tiny easels.
Yeah.
And working looms and spinning wheels. I am very anxious to see these things so I can see how they work and maybe I can make more. But Jeloishi will not let that happen.
I'll try and convince her.
She turned me into a cow.
Oh boy. Hey, yeah. Oh dear.
Oh, yeah. Mm.
I had to stay very still while this was going on because I did not want to kick over the furniture.
Dad. Oh boy.
It would seem that your pixie friend, she has exceptionally developed sense of justice. And it is surrounded entirely on her ability to cast polymorph.
Yeah,
Do
the
not,
amount of times that's happened has been unique.
if it has happened many times, how can it be unique?
Compared to what we figure normal amounts of polymorph would be?
I have heard stories about this university from your mother. I think that the average is probably higher than you would think. How else does someone practice?
Huh.
That's a
I
good
hadn't
point.
thought of that.
Well, now you have. There you go.
Thank you.
You learn something new all the time.
Just sort of happy wiggling from within the chair.
Yeah, it's now kind of half covering your face.
Lenark, it's good to see you up and about.
Yes, you can thank this one for that. She
Oh,
can
I'm
thank
aware.
me by shushing. Yeah, you're licking the beanbag because it's over you.
Yeah.
Just so you know, the VL has done me in great stead, and I very much love it. So
I am glad. Yes, my friend is never going to hire you people again, by the way.
sorry.
It's fine. It seems that if you are going around killing dragons, you probably have better things to do with your time than guarding merchant caravans anyway.
I mean, to be fair, we got there safely. Ish.
Cockatrices.
I was about to say you were a statue for a bit of that.
Yeah, but we got there.
Earth Elemental made him have
That's
to patch
true.
the cart up.
Yeah.
And you would apparently not shut up. And there was all manner of domestic fluffing about with kissing and slightly obnoxious wizard man and no one would stop talking except for you. It points to Clarity. He liked you. Mostly because you sat quietly and mostly hid from the city.
Ava's looking thoroughly confused.
Alice is just going, I've heard some of these stories, but I had always felt so bad for this one feed merchant. And now I can see I was right to feel that way.
I'm just gonna shut up.
Look,
Clarity's starting to hide.
if you cannot tease your adventure friends, who can you tease? It's fine, he takes himself too seriously anyway. But he is still never going to hire you again.
That's fair. After that performance, I don't blame him.
Well, as you say, you did follow a brief, but as I recall, at least one of you had to have some of your pay ducked. It was Hazel, if I remember.
That was me. Yeah, I was like, yeah. No, I'm watching everybody trying to rack their brains. I'm going, yeah, that was me.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just sort of, I'm just trying to move. Now I've stopped like happy with like I'm just trying to move as little as possible so I don't continue sinking. There's just feet and hands sticking out.
Come on, Hazel, let's go. I think we're
Taking
we're
enough of his
done.
time.
Well, it's not as if I have
Red
that
Sea
much
was a
in the way
list.
of business, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. But I do appreciate that you probably have other things to do.
So I'll grab Hazel's hand and be like, "Oh boy."
Okay, yeah, that is gonna take a strength check.
Well, actually, I grab Hazel's hand and I'm like, "Help."
Oh, we just remembered we didn't discuss payment.
No, we didn't.
Mute happened, I think. That's
Or either that or breaking up.
Breaking up probably because I
There you
was.
Oh,
there we
there's-
go.
it-
It just
it-
unmuted.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It wasn't on mute, so it must have just broken up. But I hit the button more or less automatically, so then it was on mute, and now it's not. Says it was. So he's just. No, we didn't. And no, I want to see the Bard man try to pull Hazel out of this.
So okay, so I'm not getting help. Okay.
I will be more of a hindrance, honestly.
I'm weak as shit.
I want to watch because this is gonna be funny.
All right, here goes nothing.
It's about enough. It takes some doing and some more or less significant sort of strain to pull her out of this thing, or at least to a point where she can get to her own feet.
Significant heave hoeing.
Yeah, pretty
Yep.
much. So,
Practically hear the.
Yay! I can breathe.
That makes one of us.
you were talking too much for someone who could not breathe, Hazel.
It was the bit with the pulling. Okay.
I will put you down the well again because we know we can get you out of it.
Fair enough.
Do you still? There's still toys around.
Yeah.
What kind of toys?
And it's mostly little wooden things, blocks, dollhouse furniture, puppets. There's some plushies.
Can I? Are there any what sort of plushies?
Well, what are you looking for? And I'll let you know if there's
Something that Candor might like.
Candor's probably not that much of a plushy kind of an individual.
Yeah.
He'd probably, given what you know about him, he'd be more maybe I mean, he goes out and he collects, like, he's basically a forager sort of individual, so he'd probably be less on the toy line because he was like 10 or 11. But what you can find is because they don't just work in, straight up heavy woods. There's some palm wicker kind of things that baskets and bushels and that kind of thing that might actually be useful. Candor lives up to his virtue name. He likes useful. He's really not much for frivolous. He is straightforward as an arrow to the heart. So
like baskets or something.
yeah, there's one particular thing which is and it's almost picnic hamperish, and it's sort of divided up, but it's a smaller sort of version, so a bit more portable. But it's got little dividers in it, like you'd have for silverware or oil vials or something, that he could separate out specialized herbs into smaller bits and pieces. So he's not mixing them all up together. So while all this has been going on, Clarity can be browsing.
Lanark, how much is that basket there?
Oh, that one is 5 silver. Was a little bit fiddly to be making.
I will give you that.
Thank you very much. This is probably going to be the only business I am having today, so. And
Anyone else need anything?
Darvin, weren't you thinking about filigree shit for your shield?
Oh, right. Right. You're absolutely right. Oh God, with everything, it slipped. Leonard.
Well, that would be more of a metalworking thing.
Oh, it would. Okay, I wasn't sure. Sorry, windshield, wood. So that's where I went. But
Metal
no, okay.
filigree.
Right. Okay. Duh. Sorry. Thank you.
He is quite all right. It seems like you are having one of those days. That look partakes of self-impatience because you have been through this before already. You have been to see Jenna.
Starts blushing a little bit.
Yes, you are not going to be asking her for filigree.
Plain is fine.
Good.
Plain is fine.
As I am sure that on your travels you will find someone to make it. Then Alice is just barren of bling. There you go. The not human moving on. She does. She is good with the words. Yes,
She very much is.
she tries anyway.
That is, in fact, an Alice, queen of wordsmiths.
The hair might be white gold. The tongue is silver on a number of levels, and then just walks out.
Anyway, yes, we've taken enough of.
Just walks out, cackling.
Remy watches her go.
to Darvin, who's followed around apparently. Well, I wasn't going to let him get the last word. Hell with that. It's just looking at. You make the most interesting friends. Off you go. I'm sure you have many, many things to do.
Are you sure I can't?
Out you go.
Right, thank you.
Stop for a minute. Listen, you are going to be using this to be defending the country, no?
Mm.
Is a little
That's
is a little different than there are necessities and there are necessities, and there are gifts. Gifts and things I probably need to ask for some compensation for, but if you are going to be doing that to make sure that I still have a business and a town and a country and a head, leave us please not forget head, because I kind of need that. It may not seem like it, but I do actually use it for thinking. But, yes, no, you see, so I have this and I am not using this. In any case, isn't that theoretically mine? I did help with the with the. Well, okay, this one is mine, but the idea from it's not exactly mine. I kind of borrowed the generalized theory from some people with whom you are probably familiar. So it seems only fair that I am returning in kind the fruits of the labors, at least in first. And who knows, maybe someday if this country actually opens its borders to other places in more than just Starcoast being noble up themselves sometimes, we might be able to open up proper trade with places who appreciate this sort of thing. But until then, no one else is going to pay for it anyway, so I am not expecting money for it. So why not have it and protect the world? Yes.
Okay then. Well, thank you.
It turns around and nudges her gently out the door. One big hand just between the shoulder blades.
What's going?
Yeah, but he's like that.
This is Lenark. Welcome to Goldendale.
Well, so you see us just stumble out the door a bit.
Yeah, he was as gentle as possible, but that's a pretty big hand.
Yeah, but she wasn't expecting it, so.
Well, good to see you've gotten the proper Goldendale welcome.
I guess I did.
And everyone in town is a whole barrel of interesting.
Yeah, some in better sense than others from the sounds of it. I've heard a mention of someone named Felicia.
I am still going to throttle her.
No, you're not.
So we've done Jenna, we've done Lanark. Was there anywhere? What was the other places we needed to check?
I don't think there were any.
I don't think
No,
so.
there
Yeah,
were
I think
not.
that was it.
Okay.
Aside from the just heading back to the quartermaster that was working on stuff.
Right. Well, if we're heading back to Hearthhome, we do that in that area.
Well, yeah,
Yep.
that's where they camp. So,
Yep.
and as you're heading back to Hearthhome, you will see a couple of smaller squads on patrol, and they give you a little as you walk past. But and mostly the salutes for Remy. Let's be fair. Some of the,
Right.
she can't see because they're in helms, but they've clearly recognized her, even if she can't necessarily recognize them. So yeah, just every so often it's more as equals than as saluting a superior officer. To be fair, but you know.
She responds the same.
And heading, it's the same old walk. And although partway through, when you're in some of the more woodsier area, your path is crossed by. I mean, you hear footsteps. It's clearly not making any effort to hide, and it's large, whatever it is. And then, tromping across the road, moose.
Oh boy. Hello,
Hey!
Moose.
It stops and it looks at you.
Remy stops.
They've ever seen one?
No, she's heard hunter stories, and
Oh, so she knows what it is.
She
just never
knows
seen
what
one.
moose are. There's moose in Cedar Grove. It's just that, it's only the more experienced hunters that actually go after moose.
They're monumentally big.
And this is a bull moose, so it's the full. And Alice is just
bull.
okay. I feel a bit more at home now.
And I've just got my arms out like this after I said, "Hello, Moose."
He was just looking at Hazel like,
It seems quite curious, and it's just sort of snoof, 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 snoof. That big nose just snoofing Hazel's face. And Alice is taking the opportunity and petting, at which point the snout sort of leans away from Hazel into the petting. I used to ride one of these.
That is
I-
not
doesn't
surprising.
surprise me.
I can see that.
Very slowly and carefully joining in on what Alice is doing with the pettings.
So,
Clarity is very.
Make me
Very
a charisma check.
Charisma?
Yes.
scuttling over.
Just okay.
straight
Flat
up
charisma.
charisma. I'm not.
9.
We didn't.
It didn't. Ah, there it
and
goes.
that is.
There we go.
You managed to get your hand out of the way before as it tries to bite you. Hey! It's okay. It's okay. It settles down.
Can I try?
Charisma?
Ooh.
Yeah.
It apparently smells your fear. Oh crap. Okay. Okay.
Moose, so potent that they go beyond animal handling.
Yeah, okay. You are fortunate in a way in that you are sharing the immediate space with somebody who has a very specialized set of swords. As this thing turns around and literally goes for you with the horns. All of a sudden, Alice is directly in front of you, scimitars crossed. And
No, don't hurt it.
no, she's not hurting it. She's blocking the horns. It's more that it's hurting her. So that's... Yeah, because that was a natural 18. Okay, yeah, for 23 points of damage.
Jesus.
Okay. I
Is
will.
Alice still on her feet?
Oh, she's still on her feet, but she's... Thankfully, that was a net 20 on the charisma roll. She's backing it off. Just back off! Back off! Back off! Guys, go.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be with you in a
And
minute.
Remy's reaching for his shield, but not moving forward.
Go.
No.
Step back. Step back. Back
Slowly
towards town.
starts to step back.
And just eases the moose back about the moose's business. Just, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Moose gives Clarity this utterly offended look and crashes off into the forest. Yeah, okay, clearly you are not a moose person. Ah.
Maybe you didn't like tieflings?
I don't think
I
it's a
don't think
clarity
she cares.
person.
She was approaching it the way she would a cat or a dog. You've got to be really careful with moose.
Yeah, I can see that.
Are you okay?
It's fine.
You sure? You know
Remy goes up, reaching for her.
She's not backing away, but it's fine is automatic now. Mostly I think that she doesn't want to make Clarity feel bad.
Well, Remy is going to do 2 healing lights. Maybe 2 more healing lights.
Yeah, I'm so glad I wasn't intending on doing combat today. So yeah, the things close when she's not bleeding all over the place, but that's gonna be some colorful fucking bruises. Ah,
Ava pats Clarity on the shoulder. It's alright. It was a wild animal.
It's
They're always a bit
entirely
unpredictable.
it's entirely my fault. Okay, no, sorry. Hazel tried to encourage the moose. I encouraged proper petting of the moose, but let's face it, when a moose is starting to nip at the new people, maybe don't try additional petting.
Okay.
Yeah, you had the situation handled, but I was going to try to talk to it, but you'd already had it situated, so I was like, didn't want to make it worse.
You can talk to mooses?
He can do a speak with animals-y kind of thing.
Yeah.
As I recall correctly, he did not manage to talk a cat at the Riddler stump out of peeing on everything he owned.
Oh,
Nope.
cats are stubborn.
That's the thing. Just because he can talk to animals doesn't mean they're going to listen.
Which is exactly why she's got it in hand, shut up.
Well, like I say, we used to ride these up north.
Glory to Moose.
Clarity's pulling out fuzzy things and just throwing them.
Do you still have the list? Because I'm going to be rolling
Yes,
now.
I do have the list.
I love you.
Oh my god! I remember 3! 3 is fucking Norman! It's still
Norman.
It's always Norman. We have a 3, a 1, and a 6.
Oh, I rolled and
Oh.
because I had a 2, a 5, and an 8.
I'm sorry, I think mine is funnier just because it does involve Norman. So yeah, that's a 3, a 1, and a 6.
It's Wendell the Weasel, Norman the Badger, and Ramona the Giant Badger.
Oh boy.
Badgers! Badger, 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 badger.
Norman!
Nana's never seen this either, has she?
No, she has definitely never seen the bag of tricks.
Norman was out when they saw Clarity at the inn. He was just out and
Yes.
resting on it.
Okay, but I mean, but that could just be Norman. She hasn't seen the bag.
Yeah.
So it really is just point, and Norman.
Norman!
Hey, Norman!
So they just pop into animals.
Yeah, basically
They're fuzzy things I throw.
Yeah, pulls out a lump of fuzzy, chucks it, and weasel, badger, giant badger.
Whoa!
I'm going to go to pick up Norman and give him to Clarity.
It's sort of scrabbling away towards Clarity. It's used to you by now. Just nope. Climbs up into Clarity's arms. Not the huggy one again. Not the huggy one again. Not the huggy one again is the kind of overall look. Remember the last time Hazel went to pick up Norman, it really was just flaily paws. Help.
Weasel. Norman.
Hello, giant badger.
Yes.
Giant badger sort of looks at her. And just ambles up and sits at Clarity's heel. Badger-geddon? I don't know.
Badger squared.
Welcome to Clarity. We have badgers. I missed this.
Yeah, okay, because...
I'm guessing that's wizard stuff.
No, it's just a bag.
It's Clarity things.
I think, if memory serves me from some of the stories Darwin was telling before they hooked up with you, it was, they found the bag, and it's been Norman pretty consistently.
Pretty much every time.
Norman the Badger.
Yep.
Norman
I still remember.
constant.
Still remember Norman trying to leap up and scrabble at the tail end of the banshee. Couldn't quite reach, but damn, Norman, you tried so hard. I was so proud.
Yeah.
And
He's a
then,
good badger.
and then there was Brandon the Walking Target, if memory serves.
The wolf.
That poor
My
dire
dire
wolf.
wolf.
And Ernesto.
Yes, my panther.
She's
There's
named every animal in that thing.
I also have a giant rat named Gwendolyn, but she hasn't had much time out.
Shame it's so random. Wouldn't it be nice if you could pick? Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe before Twilly goes like evacuating, maybe they can like find a way that you can choose at least one. It probably involved tinkering with the magic, but if anybody could do it, she could.
All glory to Mom.
And then again, I suppose she's kind of got enough to do, but I bet that's
Yeah.
another one Farida would have loads of fun with watching.
Well, and I mean, while they're gone, I mean, it might be good to have something to think about.
Yeah, but
other
we don't
than
want to.
the-
Yeah, but we don't want to. She'd probably need the bag present to sense out the magic about it,
Right,
and we don't want to
right.
deprive her of the bag, particularly if it's actually been useful in combat situations.
Right. No, fair. My bad.
This is very familiar. This has been best birthday ever.
Apart from the fact where you got nipped at by a moose.
Yeah, still awesome. There was a
Only
moose.
you, Hazel. Only you.
Yes, there very much was a moose. Believe me when I
Yeah.
tell you, there very much was a moose.
Very big mouse.
Got the
Actually,
meeting.
that was pretty average. I've seen dire moose.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, if
Well,
you
it's
think
like
dire wolves are
yeah,
big.
you know how big dire wolves are compared to dire wolves.
Yeah, don't imagine
The
that.
the same exponential kind of size increase.
Oh boy, I do not want to
Darwin just
imagine
kind of
that.
white.
More
Yeah,
horns.
it was a little bit.
More horns too.
Yeah, because if a dire wolf is the size of a horse when compared to a normal wolf, think
Oh
about
dear.
how much bigger a dire moose would be.
Oh my god.
Like a house.
Thing is, they will feed a clan for a month or more, and man, they are tasty.
That sounds accurate. I'm betting the burn lichen goes good on them too, right?
Yeah, pretty much. They're better sort of roasted with frost onions.
Ooh. Ooh.
And ice pepper. Ice pepper is always a good one to have.
I don't recall you mentioning these, and I'm just sidling up to Allison regarding when she mentions ice peppers.
Well, the frost onions I think have been mentioned. But,
yeah, but
peppers have been
ice peppers Faraday mentioned.
I remember, but I don't think anyone went into further detail, and I'm very curious.
Oh, okay. You know the kind of mouth tingle that like peppermint will give you?
Uh-huh.
Think that times like several.
The grin is back.
Yeah, okay.
If there's ever a time and we're not up to our eyeballs in screaming dragons and more screaming, there needs to be time up north.
Well, we're probably gonna have to go anyway. If we're doing researchy things, and I know from the stories that Clarity at least is we're gonna need to go to the Silver Vault one day. So, from well, we'll get there eventually. Besides, I'm sure Viev wants to properly meet Froseth in person. I'm sure he wouldn't mind meeting the person who probably made Faraday's return, more to the point possible,
Yeah.
properly. On that subject, let's go and do introductions and things along those lines, and let me, sit down someplace.
And I'm just happily orbiting pretty much the entire party at this point. Sort of like just birthday girl happy dancing around everybody.
Okay, let's take the Clarity Menagerie and let's go.
Every time Hazel goes by, Darwin's just.
Yeah, I wouldn't watch if I were you. You'll get dizzy.
Yeah, you're right. Good point.
And on that note, we're at about that time, so we'll have to deal with what's happening with Rizwin another time. But, there was catching up to do, so that had to happen. And unintended combat with random moose, because moose had to be a thing. I'm sure Darwin's going to love telling Evan about that later.
Oh, very much so.
Oh, quick thing. Remind me how old Dawn was? Was she about 12? I
Six.
think you said
Six.
6.
Six.
Okay.
Dawn is one of the youngest.
Okay.
Sort of Evan's the absolute youngest, and then it's sort of Skylar and Dawn, and then it's kind of Oscar and Zana, and Kander sort of in the middle there, and then there's Mela, and then there's Ramas, Lissy, Keth. Faraday's kind of in and around the Zana Oscar kind of age range, but she mostly hangs out with Skylar because they have things in common. Yep. Who the hell did we lost?
We lost
Ethan.
Ethan.
That's new.
Who?
Oh boy.
No, 'cause I had a thought of giving her my old bow, but that might not. She might be a bit young for that.
Possibly get. Well, keep in mind you do know that Ramas shoots, And he might have a smaller bow, so you could say, okay, I have this bow. It served me well in combat. I'll trade you that for one of your younger ones.
Mm-hmm.
Or, see if you can find a way of permanently reducing the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or, since I'm feeling moderately generous, if I could say you thought of it at Lenark's and he could find you a practice bow that would do well for Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
That would run you... That he'd take money for. That would cost you about 10 silver. And since I have my significant doubts that we're getting Ethan back in any immediate time frame, we will reconvene in 2 weeks to unfortunately bid hail and farewell to Rizwin, and well, at least Clarity will technically get to meet Rizwin because Rizwin's a sweetie, really, and move on with plans to take down an ancient green dragon.
Oh boy.
See y'all later.
Ayo.